Hey everyone, welcome back. Welcome to another episode. Once again, my name is Brian, and this is the Live Life Now podcast, where I tell different stories and experiences about my life and the interesting and sometimes funny or wild things that have occurred over the years, and just living without regrets. One of the main topics, you've kind of heard different stories about my personal experiences with uh, movies and TV, with music, you name it. But this one, I wanted to kind of go into a little bit more about celebrities that I've met and what those interactions were like. Um, every time, for the most part, it's been very different from the next. I've met a lot of musicians since I go to a lot of concerts. I've definitely met a lot of rock musicians because I mainly listen to rock music and go to rock concerts. So I also went on a cruise known as Shipwrecked in 2015, and I met about 20 different bands during that cruise. Most famous bands would include bands like Limp Bizkit. There was a super group that had members of Megadeth, Pantera, and others. But then there was, you name it. If you listen to bands like Seven Dust, POD, Buckcherry, Filter, Living Color, you name it. I met those bands. Tremonti, who had Wolfgang Van Halen, Eddie Van Halen from Van Halen's son, who was even Wolfgang Van Halen was even in Van Halen at one point. Got to meet him. Met a lot of up and coming bands too. I've met beyond the cruise. I've met bands like Lit, Alien Ant Farm. Boy, the list goes on and on. I'm just thinking Everclear, Live, Sixpence None the Richer. Man, it goes and goes. And while I've had awesome experiences with musicians, sometimes it's weird to know what to say or what not to say. And you really don't know how people are going to react. You don't know them. You may think you know them from seeing them on TV or listening to their music or whatever. But you just never know. I've met also a lot of non-music related celebrities. Those celebrities included O.J. Simpson, Holly Berry, Jamie Foxx, Lou Ferrigno, Star Jones. I had an encounter where I didn't realize it was him, but later realized for sure it was him. It was Chuck Norris. I had experiences with a lot of sports people. I used to work for a rental car company, and I would rent cars to all types of football players and a couple singers and tennis players, drivers like race car drivers. Sometimes we would have basketball players. We rent out private vehicles. I wouldn't always get to talk to them, but they were picking up the vehicles that I set aside for them. So yeah, each situation could be different. Depends on where you meet them, what they're up to, what you're up to. I'll just give a quick rundown of some of my more interesting stories. The main one that people always ask about is the now late O.J. Simpson. I worked at a cafe. It was my first job. At that time, O.J. Simpson had obviously the trial of the century was called, where he was found not guilty of murder, but he ended up losing in the civil trial. He moved to South Miami, and at the time, I was working at a cafe not too far from where he lived at that time. And I was just having a normal day. It was a morning, not many customers coming in. And there was a gentleman, middle-aged man, coming in. He's at the register. I'm taking his order, not paying attention, nothing out of the ordinary. I see a man come up behind him and put his arm around him. He goes to the gentleman, I got it taken care of, juice. And I look, and O.J. Simpson is standing directly in front of me, just a counter up away from me, being face to face. Obviously, I was in a bit of shock. I don't know what my expression looked like at that moment, but it must have been passable. So I got the drink order in, and O.J. Simpson starts talking to me. There, right next to the register, is a whole display of pastries and everything from like muffins and strudels and just a whole bunch of bakery type of assortment things. And OJ Simpson starts asking me about the muffins. He's specifically that day we had lemon poppy seed muffins, I remember. And he's asking me about what they are and what, that type of thing. And I remember he asked me, can you heat it up? And I don't know what happened, but I was not, I had mixed feelings about meeting OJ Simpson. Obviously, he was known as an incredible football player, but he's also known to most people as probably a murderer in all reality. And I guess that came out in my answer. So when he said, can you heat it up? I said, yeah, we have a microwave. And it came across like I was telling OJ Simpson to his face that, yeah, idiot, there's this invention called a microwave. It allows us to heat things up like the muffins. And I saw his face be like, oh, and like kind of walk away from me and stop talking to me after that. He sat down at a table where he was doing bills. So he was sitting down with his friend that I had taken the order from and another gentleman. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I think I just upset OJ Simpson. And I kind of was slightly nervous, but I was just like, what can you do and whatever. OJ didn't have a pen on him and he's working on what looked like a checkbook. So his friend came up and asked for a pen. My coworker gave him a pen that he had on him. And they were there for probably about a good half an hour, maybe 45 minutes at longest, I would gather. Once again, it was a very slow day, not many people in the bookstore or in the cafe at that moment. A lady came in. I took her order. I was in process of making her a drink. She's right in front of me while I'm doing the drink stuff. And she's getting her coffee ready. She sees OJ Simpson. And she gave a reaction that I've never seen a human being do before that or since. This was back, by the way, for reference, this was back in the year 2000. So this, it's been 24 years and nothing even remotely close to this has ever occurred in my presence ever since. She sees OJ. Her first reaction is shock. Of course, you're not expecting, you're just waiting for your coffee and you see this person that just a couple years earlier in like 94 was like all over the TV screens in the United States, what felt like probably months, maybe it was a matter of weeks, but it felt like it went on and on and on. Everything from the car chase to the trial to, the jokes on late night TV, whatever. Anyways, she sees OJ Simpson and just the shock came on her face. But this all happened really, really quickly. So it was shock. And then her expression changed to horror. Like, oh my God, it's OJ Simpson. And so it was like surprise, like shock, then horror. Then her face turned to anger. Just because I could see she just got like this, I can't believe that guy's here type of look on her face. And it all happened probably in the matter of like 1 second, maybe 2 seconds. Her face changed 3 times in front of me. And I only saw it because I was right in front of her. And I guess I had noticed when she noticed him. And OJ didn't acknowledge her. I don't even know if he looked up at her or anything. But I know for a fact she felt uncomfortable after that. I quickly got her coffee shortly after that, and she bolted. OJ stuck around a little bit longer, then he left. I remember he had like a big limp, probably from all his football days, and he left, and I never saw him again. There were other stories about him coming around other days. I never was there on those days, or at least not at those times when he was there. There was also a diner just across the street that people had noticed him at too. And many times people have heard me tell this story. This is one of my classic stories, I guess you could say. And people always seem to ask me, why didn't you offer him a knife with this muffin? Number one, he didn't even get the muffins, especially after I apparently offended him. I believe he had a coffee, maybe at most. But I basically was just always telling like, yeah, you tell OJ Simpson to his face, would he like a knife? I was not about to do that. I was intimidated. Clearly, it was unexpected. Not somebody I would have seeked out at that moment to be in front of, but still makes for a great story even all these years later. Some of my other stories, like I mentioned, Holly Berry, that was another interesting one. Holly Berry, I was with my friend. We were in Miami Beach. In the southernmost part of Miami Beach is known as South Beach. For those who remember LeBron James and taking his talents to South Beach, I was in that part of Miami Beach. And just walking down the street, the most famous area, besides the main road of Collins Avenue, but like the area that you usually see when you see South Beach on TV is the street called Ocean Drive. And Ocean Drive is about a mile and a half long in the southernmost point. At least it does continue again later. But anyways, southernmost point where you see all the famous hotels and restaurants and bars. I was down there walking down the street with my friend. We used to record a lot of stuff. We basically, by the time of like, I don't know how many of you guys watching this remember shows such as the Tom Green Show or Jackass. We used to do a lot of dumb videos. We called them the stupid tapes. And we would just say and do dumb things. Usually it resulted in me holding the camera and making the comments while my friends did stunts or whatever else they felt like doing. I often got in front of the camera too and did a lot of just silly stuff. And it was just childish type of fun. It was something we did to entertain ourselves. What did we do in those things? Everything from filming inside of supermarkets and malls and running through fountains and jumping off of in the southernmost point in South Beach is the pier. We jumped off the pier. We did silly things in the car. Just whatever came to mind. Ran on the golf course. You name it. We would just show up at people's houses unannounced that we knew that were friends of ours and just put the camera right in their face and get their reactions. We did a lot of these things. Anyways, the reason I bring all that up is because we had our video camera with us when Holly Berry passed us. So let me backtrack a bit. We're on Ocean Drive in South Beach. We're just walking down the main road. And at the time, Holly Berry was with what I believe was then her husband, a gentleman by the name of Eric Benet. He was a singer. He probably still is, for that matter. And anyways, they were walking down the street, I believe, hand in hand. Me and my friend walk right past them. And, the beach is obviously known for like a lot of beautiful people. I told my friend, hey, as soon as we got just past them far enough where they wouldn't be in listening distance, oh my gosh, like, hey, do you know who that was? And my friend's like, no, who? He didn't really keep up with pop culture like I did. So I'm like, Holly Berry. And he's like, who? And I'm starting naming movies she's been in. I think she'd been in like Monsters Ball and some other things by that point. He's like, no, I don't know. And then I go, Storm from X-Men. The X-Men movies were still pretty popular. He's like, oh my gosh, yes, of course. I know who that is. Great. So we're like, well, we got this video camera. We turned it on and like, hey, that's Holly Berry. Like, so we got some footage from her from behind as they're walking down the street. But we were like, no, we need to get in front. We need to get some better footage. We're gonna run around the block and we'll get back in front of her. And I don't know what we're gonna do, but we're just gonna see what happens. Maybe we can like interview her or something. So me and my friend run around the block, go on, get way back around, go as quickly as we can so we know we'll be able to get back in front of them, even if they're walking quickly. By the time we get around the block, we get in front, we see Holly Berry and her husband, but by this point, she has a lot of people there. There's a lot of, I remember there's a gentleman on a bicycle, other people on the sidewalk. They're getting kind of surrounded at this point. Not by a ton of people, maybe 5, 6 people that recognize them walking down the street by that point. And Holly kind of got stopped and she didn't want to be bothered. And by the time we walked up to them again, this was taking place already. And Holly said to everybody, hey, don't celebrities get a day off too? And I realized like this is my chance to say or do something to talk to Holly Berry or whatever was on my mind. But I'm like, I gotta do something. Like this is my moment. So I go, yeah, everybody, why can't you just leave her alone? And for whatever reason, all these people decided to listen to me, and everybody walked away. So it was me and my friends, and Holly Berry and Eric Benet, just the four of us there briefly. And Holly didn't talk to me, but her husband did. And he goes, hey, thanks, man. And I'm just like, no problem. Have a great day. And they just kept going down the street. We didn't get the footage we were hoping for. I don't, whatever that was going to be, but we did get the footage, before we ran around the block at least. Um, but yeah, that was one of the more interesting ones. My Jamie Foxx story involves me just trespassing onto the set of Miami Vice, the movie, when Jamie Foxx was filming that in Miami. Didn't really like interact with him directly, but he was right in front of me for much of the time. I would just walk on the set. And he was very serious. He was, they were getting ready to film a scene. That scene ultimately they had filmed. It was like a diner scene. Ended up getting cut from the movie. So if you can look up the director's cut of Miami Vice, you will see the scene that I saw them working on that night. There was like a female he was meeting up with at the diner, and they were going to have a conversation sitting down at one of the tables. I also met Lou Ferrigno from Incredible Hulk. I ran into him at the Hotel Pennsylvania, which was directly across the street from Madison Square Garden in New York City. By coincidence, I was in New York City to visit a friend at the same time as the 2003 NBA draft. This was the draft where LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, Carmelo Anthony, and others were all drafted. Across the street, I saw really tall people coming and going. I didn't know them at that point. I wasn't following college basketball, but I'm like, that person must be a player. And I'd been in New York and I'd seen other celebrities there. John Cryer from 2.5 Men. I accidentally ran into him at a natural history museum. And so, I mean, it was not uncommon to run into celebrities in New York City. Was in a restaurant there inside the hotel in the lobby, in the front lobby. And I see Lou Ferrigno. And my friends, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's Lou Ferrigno. And they were like, who? Just like kind of like with my situation with my other friend. I go, the Incredible Hulk. And right in that moment, Lou Ferrigno heard me say the Incredible Hulk and looked straight at me, and I got super embarrassed. And the moment passed. He was looking at a menu at the front of this restaurant. Probably after that little experience, decided I don't want to eat here after all. Took off. We finished our meal, me and my friends, going out in the lobby. He's right there again. I didn't know what to say. He didn't really seem like he wanted to interact, but we're walking out of the hotel. He is standing right next to us, walking out at the same time. He had some of the largest calves, maybe the largest calves, like his legs, that I have ever seen on a human being in my life. It was incredible. Like he was still in amazing shape. This was around 2003, so unbelievable. So that was mainly my interaction with him. Other people that I met, such as Star Jones, that was when I was working for the rental company. And then George Wallace, the comedian, I wrote a car repair estimate on one of his vehicles in Atlanta once. There's just a bunch of random ones, and all of them were interesting. But I figured I'd just let you know that every interaction is different. There is no perfect thing to say or do. Usually I would just say, don't freak them out. If you can do it, how do you not freak them out? I mean, read the room is what I would say with most celebrities. Don't yell to your friends, hey, that's the Incredible Hulk, or, oh, Storm from X-Men, and have them overhear you. That's usually a bad start to whatever interaction you're about to have. And hopefully you don't meet convicted, or not even convicted, but accused murderers in your time, because that will certainly throw you off. So that's a little rundown of some of my celebrity sightings and meetings. I hope you enjoyed listening, and see you in the next episode. Have a great day.